All right, so we are back again live. This is Chopping Up TV, chopping up contemporary relationship topics with my girl Charlsea, all the way, all the way from Cary, North Carolina. All right, I'm your boy Rod, aka Hot Rod, aka Afro King, as you can see right here. All right, so let's get it on. We got a real hot topic for you guys today, and so let's take it.
All right, so I had an opportunity to watch Kevin Samuels, one of his former videos. It was about, the high value men and women and where exactly they rank in the sexual dating, sexual market value. I think that's the term he coined it, which basically is just another version of saying in the dating world, where exactly a woman would lie on the scale from 1 to 10. Um,
Mhm.
where you ally as far as being a viable option for a man. And there were some very interesting views that he had. Um,
Mhm.
and quite in the video, there were quite a few women who called in and, they wanted him to see them and he asked them specific questions about each woman. And he let them know where he ranked and he wanted to know if they realistically ranked themselves um, I guess, in the dating world. And I guess my takeaway from those 2 hours, I was more so, I wouldn't say disturbed. I would say I was a little perplexed by the number of women who contacted him, who really wanted his perspective on where they lied, why it mattered. Like they were really intrigued to know what his thoughts were on for them. And I guess, my issue is more so kind of what's going on. My mindset is basically what's going on with women. Why this man's opinion is that important to them. He was very rude, um,
Mhm.
very brash, and really, and he did say on the video he's an advocate for men. No problem with that. But it
Okay.
almost seemed as if you're an advocate for men and you really had a problem with women. And
Mhm.
the women, and it's one thing for him to have that opinion, it's another thing for a woman to still seek out your advice, knowing this. And so it was quite eye-opening for me. Um, to see a lot of the way the women were treated, and they would see it. They would see another one come up, another one come up, another one, and it never stopped them. And so I guess it had me kind of like wondering if there's more of an issue going on with women and our psyche, and why we would entertain such abuse. That's the only other word.
Oh, so so you think it's an abuse?
It's a form of it. Yeah, it is. It's a form of it. It is like
What
go ahead.
what part of it? What I want to know specifically. What part of it is an abuse?
Okay, so I would say the part that basically one young lady, several women called and they had children. They had children, and normally they had about one. Some had more than one, but normally one. He was letting them know basically, ma'am, you can hang it up. You can hang it up. You're not going to get anybody. No man of values. They're pretty much going to want you at this point, because you have a child, and you know let's not even get on to talk about weight. Weight was really big. Let me go back. One of the three top questions that were asked was, what's your age, what's
Mm.
your weight, and if you have children. Those were the three main components on whether you are a high candidate or a good candidate for a man. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, even when he was asking the questions, he really wasn't focused on high value men. He was almost just at this point talking about just men in general. It didn't matter. So these were the three questions that the women had to answer, and based on the answers that they gave, you know. He would let them know if she said she was 120, ma'am, you're clearly more 130, you're lying. Like this is what the man is saying to the women. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Um, really, really obnoxious, very obnoxious. And like I said, my issue is not with him. He's a caliber. Apparently, people think he's high value. I think he's of a lower caliber. But the
you
women
think
is who I'm concerned
you
with.
think he's you think he's low value?
I think it's very low level. Very low level.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can put lipstick on a pig. I don't
Oh
care how
man.
nice the suits are. That's one thing. But you can put lipstick on a pig, but how you carry yourself as a person matters way more than any of
Mm,
those things. So high value, and because I know I had asked, and I wanted to know what constitutes a high value man, and I noticed that to me, based on how you treat people, in my opinion, should be a part of it should be listed in there, but oftentimes it wasn't. It's not. Even when I was looking at information when he was talking about it, it's about your to me a lot of times a lot around the amount of money that you have. There are a lot Donald Trump has a lot of money. Like that doesn't make him a high value man. That makes him wealthy. That makes him rich. But that doesn't make him a high value man. So that's why I was confused on like, well, what are people looking at and why is that? It's just interesting to me how people really, and not even say people, women, why women would continue to seek this man's advice, knowing that he's going to, for the most part, rip you down. That's almost like his end goal is to rip you down, to entertain whoever I guess his audience is, and I'm quite disturbed by it.
okay. Well, so I think first of all, I'm gonna start with the last thing that you just said. Why are these women going on the show knowing that they're gonna get ripped or abused by this guy? I think the mere fact that these women keep clamoring, for this guy, right? I think that tells me there's a place, and he is speaking to these people because if there's no place for this guy for his message, right? I don't think that will be resonating with these women. So I think that statement right there, it's a fact because majority of the people that tune into his show are female, correct? Who did you see calling in on the
Who's
show?
calling in were women. That's who's
Women,
calling in. That's
right?
yeah.
So for the fact that you are telling me, he's abusive, I know the two things can be true. He can be abusive, right, and still make relevant points. Those two things can be true. I understand that, but I don't think that diminishes his message. You get my point?
Could you elaborate?
Okay, I'm gonna elaborate. What I'm trying to tell you is, yes, the messenger might be tainted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the message is still valuable.
Okay. 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 So let's piggyback on that. I call into the show and I say, I am 32. I have one child and I weigh 155 pounds. And I feel like in this market, I can rate myself 6. And you say, and his response is, man, clearly you're more of a 3 or 4. Could you help me understand how it's of value? What's the term you said just now when you said it still holds value? I guess I look at it as he doesn't ask the women anything else about themselves, who they are, and I guess maybe men don't care about that. Maybe they don't care about the woman she is. Maybe they literally care about just these 3 things: her weight, children, and age. I don't know, but as who she was as a woman, what she adds to the situation, how she carries herself, none of those things. Like he said, now after you get their weight together, for some women they just lose some weight or whatever. But about who she was, they didn't really get into that. So I guess here's my thing. I guess I'm trying to make a point is how just what he say is relevant. How is it just that I'm basically not focusing on the message and not necessarily the messenger? Because to me, the message too is also trash.
Well, that's where I beg to differ. I don't think his message is tainted. The messenger might be tainted, but the message isn't all the way tainted. That's what I'm trying to make you understand.
Okay.
I think what he is saying is relevant to today's relationship. Okay. I think at best his point of contention is women are privileged to a fault. Okay. I think that's just the core
Yes.
premise of what he's about. And women feel they are entitled, just because they are female. By virtue of them being a female, they feel entitled. And that, I don't think he's talking about every female. I think he coined the term modern women, right? So those are the type of women he's speaking to. And I don't necessarily think every modern women fall within that category anyway, right? But just because Kevin Samuels is, you know, is condescending, is rude, is prude, doesn't mean his message is not relevant.
Hmm. I would like for you to explain something. What? Because this is kind of news to me. How are women entitled?
How women what?
Entitled.
Women feel entitled in a lot of different ways. They do. Women feel very entitled. There's something. Some women feel entitled. Just because they are pretty. They should have a guy who makes certain amount of money. And they do not want to tolerate a working class guy. Like the blue collar workers. Those are the kind of stuff I heard him talking about. They feel that those kind of guys are beneath them. Or they feel like they can't bring something to the table because they look a certain way. So some of his points I think are relevant, and it's necessary to talk about. And I think that's the value he brings to the marketplace, because some of these women listening to his show, they can listen to that and say, oh yeah, he's talking about me. I know I'm guilty of that. This is something that is not very common in today's world, right? So I think that's what makes him stand out. And that's why you see so many people flocking towards this show. In as much as I personally do not agree with his approach, I agree with you. He tends to be very condescending. He tends to be very rude. I don't think he necessarily needs to be rude and condescending. Yeah, some women deserves it. They're calling the show, but at the end of the day, you can make your point without being condescending. That's my biggest problem I have with him. Now, do I agree with everything he says? Hell no, I don't agree with everything he says. So we can also elaborate on the sexual value marketplace. When he talks about the ranking and all that stuff, we can talk about that. Do I necessarily agree with all of that? No. But do I think Kevin Samuels has a place in today's world? Yes. Do I think his message is relevant? Yes, his message is necessary and relevant.
Okay. So, all right.
Mhm.
You said a couple of things just there.
Okay.
So there are certain women who don't believe that they should have to do anything. They believe they should just show up, be pretty, and have a certain type of man. And
Right.
okay.
I've
So,
seen women like that.
hmm.
I've come across a female like that.
Okay. So would you say in the women that you've come across with, and this is just we're talking about you, just you, out of the women that
Mhm.
you met, what is the percentage that come across as entitled to you?
Well, this actually happened like maybe 10 years ago, probably while I was in New York. It was someone I dated. She just felt because she's pretty, she had a beautiful body, so there was no reason for her to work. She didn't have to work. That's good enough. And in my mind, I'm like, you probably hanging with the wrong dude, because that's not how it works with me. You got to be productive. You don't necessarily have to bring, I'm not asking you to go 50-50, because I'm not that kind of person, but I want you to do something meaningful with your life. You
Yeah.
got to be doing something. I don't want to be with a bum. Let's put it that way. I don't want to be with someone who does not bring any value to the table. You got to bring some value. What are you bringing to the table that makes the relationship better, right? It's all about adding value. Even at your place of work, it's about value. When you add value to your place of work, you can get a whole lot of things. And I'm one of those people sitting over here. I can tell you that, my place of work, because I was so good in sales, I was so good in sales, I had a lot of leverage because why? I added value to my place of work. I was really good at selling. I was good at training people. I was professional, right? My team was one of the biggest. I had one of the biggest team. You know, everything was check, check, check. So in that situation, I had leverage because of the value I bring, and it doesn't change when it comes to relationship. When you add value to your relationship, then you have some leverage.
I agree. I agree.
It's about value, right?
I think where I was getting I'm lost with it is that sometimes I feel like extremes are what seems to be brought up. So you have extreme situations, yes. You have some people, you have men who are entitled, you have women who are entitled. But I'm going to speak for me and my circle of women that I know. We are all women who have done a great deal with our lives. We want to meet someone basically at the same place who has ambition, who's going after certain things with themselves. So when people say, well, because when Kevin was talking, I didn't see him really saying this specific type of woman. He was using a lot of generalizations.
Okay.
And so that is where he was losing me. So let's delve back into the ranking. Weight was huge on that conversation. So I myself know quite a few plus size women. We basically comes at our neck, period. And I feel like that's a conversation in itself, because whether you want to talk about high value or not, like this basically the disrespected this sometimes plus size people, and I won't just single out women. To me, I feel like we do catch a little bit harder than men, but let's just say as a whole, to totally basically say in the dating world you are low level. To me, these are the issues that I feel like can continue to be. And to me, he's spewing it. He's making it. He's blowing. He's throwing gas on the fire. So it's kind of like you're losing it. But again, everything is based on. And again, you say that basically in today's society, his conversation is relevant. And I think, again, I'm calling it hogwash because you have a certain agenda. You're pushing your own point of view off on a group of people, and you're basically trying to stamp it as if it's a law, and it's not.
All subjects in life, all things in life, let me rephrase that. All things in life are subject to an examination. All things. And the same goes for an opinion, right? So Kevin Samuels's opinion is not an end all be all. People need to understand that, and people also need to understand that one's opinion shouldn't make your life good or bad. Mm-hmm. So one's opinion, it shouldn't be a determining factor on how you feel in a way. I know that's hard for people to separate sometimes. I get it, because we are humans, right? We are humans. We are emotional beings. Obviously, we tend to react. That's what the brain is wired to do. That defense mechanism. The brain tells you, that's abusive, that's mean, and then boom, you get triggered. We are emotional beings. Again, our brain is designed to protect us. So I get that aspect. But again, the key thing I want people to understand, we shouldn't be so moved by someone's opinion to the point that it makes us feel worthless or bad about ourselves. Because the fact of the matter is, who is Kevin Samuels? That's what we need to know on the first day. Who is Kevin Samuels? Right? Who is Kevin Samuels? He's just a guy behind the camera and a microphone, right? Online with a platform that tells people what he feels about certain things, about relationship, and that's it. That's his opinion.
Yeah.
So now the people who are tuning in to listen to Kevin Samuel, they have a role to play as well. You have a role to be able to sit down and analyze what this guy is saying, think rationally, and come up with a reasonable and rational conclusion for yourself. And I think that's what separates us from animals, because we as humans should be able to think and be rational, right, and make a decision. But the problem is people are so caught up with sensationalism these days, so it's very easy for us to be dissuaded by someone's opinion. so I get your point of contention. I really understand your point of contention. Do I agree with him name calling people and name calling women? Hell no. I don't think that's relevant. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's ad hominem in a way. It is, because you are actually attacking the subject as opposed to attacking the issue, right? And that's a problem he has, because I saw one of his interview that he did on Vlad TV. He was bitching about, excuse my language, he was bitching about people calling him gay, people talking about him in a provocatory ways, and so he did not like it. He didn't like all the name calling and all that stuff. So, and I'm listening to this guy, I'm like, well, he's a big hypocrite in a way, because like, if you are complaining about people calling you gay, why do you keep attacking people personally on your show? So those are the kind of stuff I have problem with. So you see, that's what the problem is. People don't sit down and think about those things, and so that's part of the problem. And again, I noticed the quality of people that call into his show, subpar at best. Let's just put it that way.
I would agree. I would say that I was a little shocked as I was, I heard about him a couple of years ago, and I would notice that his name, like you said, would continue to come up, and it would come up talking to men, and his name comes up often. So it's like, okay, yeah, I agree. There's certain people who are kind of calling in. His followers though run the gamut. They really do. And so it's interesting. It's interesting, the number, and like I said, it's more for the women who call in, because I don't know. For me, I listened to the thing regarding it, and being a plus size woman, I was irritated, but it didn't affect me to the point of where it might have affected someone else who may not be in the same position I'm in. Like, I recognize that we have challenges and we have things that we want to, definitely health is important, but to have someone talk down to you in that manner, my issue is more so how are the women who, and I don't want to use the wrong word, but everybody's not in the same place. Everybody can't take that. Everybody doesn't have the same, I don't want to say thick skin. And so that's what bothers me about it, is that you have people who you don't know how they're affected. Yes, I was able to watch it, get through it, and be like, you know what, give them the middle finger and keep it moving. But everybody can't do that. So it rubbed me the wrong way because of that, and unfortunately the young ladies who continue to call in, because they were calling and they were young, they were old and young. I call nobody old, they were seasoned and young. Okay. And so you were getting young impressionable women in their 20s. You're a young woman, and here's this man giving you this advice about, shave a few pounds off here, do this, do that. One young lady was 5'10", and he told her basically she was already at a disadvantage because men don't, dating a tall woman. Yes, just kind of a whole mess. And I was just, and this was a young girl. She was just barely like maybe 21. And so this is the foolishness that you're in. And he's basically helping you shape your dating life. And she comes somewhere, it probably was, I think, because he basically told her he told another young lady, she looked more like Whoopi Goldberg. Really? And ladies took it as a negative, and he was just saying, it's not a negative, that's what you look like. And again, I don't think Whoopi Goldberg is an unattractive woman either, but I just didn't get his sincerity in the comment. You know what I'm saying? It's just way too much BS attached to his comment that really, and I just, like I said, my issue is with the women. I really would love to understand the or have a conversation with a woman who wants to hear his point of view, who really wants to know, what does Kevin think of me? I want to know why. Why you want to know? Because he pretty much has let it be known that he has a problem with women. He just does. Like he just has a problem.
I think, I mean, there's a possibility. It's quite possible he has a problem with women, right? It's quite possible. It could be some past relationship trauma. It's quite possible. That I actually thought about that. It's actually funny you brought it up, but I actually thought about that too. When I first watched him, like maybe probably sometime a year or a year and a half ago, when I first came across Kevin Samuels, I was like, wow, this guy, all his venom seems to be pointed towards female, and he does it with so much animosity, and it's just like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah, I understand his point. I get it. Get his premise. I get it. I get his message. So most women, I think, needs to hear the truth, because I don't think a lot of women grew up or in an environment wherein someone is telling them the truth. Some of them, especially with the women that calls the show, you can tell some of these women, they grew up with their dad, absent parents and stuff like that. So if you grew up raising yourself without any parental guidance, you definitely need someone to tell you the truth at some point. So I get the angle of his premise. I get that. But with that being said, again, he says some of these things with so much animosity, and it makes me feel like a question whether he is dealing with some emotional trauma from his past relationship or something along the line. Maybe a female did something, terrible to him. I don't know, and maybe that's why people are questioning whether he's gay. Because I think.
And I know many of people. I've been in different women groups, even on Facebook, and they'll go in on him, calling him names. I don't participate in any of that, to be honest with you, because I don't want to disrespect the man, even though that's what he does. Honestly, I'm better than that, so I don't do it. And I don't. I mean, you say that you're not gay. Cool, whatever. I just know that what I do recognize is there's an issue with women, and it could be a past relationship. It could be a mother wound. You really don't know. But there's something there, and it's off. And I guess I said it goes out to the women who don't see it and really, and like they might be dealing with some themselves too. Hey, and they're looking for someone to give them, I guess, some type of approval. And it's unfortunate because I think more damage is being done than good, and that's the sad part. So.
Well, the question is, what if there's nothing in his past? What if?
What if he's just a jerk, just straight off the rip? He just came here to say jerk, right?
Well, yeah, he could.
It could be that they're looking from his past. Like there's some, because for myself, I've made it a point to be very specific about the men who I ask for advice, the men who speak to me. I've worked on that. I do not allow all men to talk to me because not all men like women. And sometimes men get that confused. They think because they are sexually attracted to women that they like us, and that is not true.
You're right. That's a great point.
I'm very adamant about what's going on with the women, because you have to be careful, because that's like going up to Ike Turner asking him to give you advice on getting a husband. Why would I do that? Wow. He's going to tell me how to get a version of him, versus when there are really great men out there. And I think it's another thing, you need more women. There are really excellent men out there with really great hearts who love women and have a heart for women. Ask him for advice if you want to get married. Ask him what he likes, because he has a heart for women. Like, that's the thing. It's kind of like, be careful about who you let speak into you. Yeah.
That's a pretty awesome point. I think Kevin Samuels, I don't know. It's for me, it's a struggle. Like I said, the guy, he has his angle. Who knows what's playing at the back of his mind? No one knows, right? What his real MO is. I don't know what his MO is. So, but I think at its core, he does believe his approach, and he does
Yes.
believe that women, not all women, but most women are entitled,
Yeah.
right? I think he strongly believes in what he's spewing out there. He does believe that. And I also think, again, some of the things he's saying, very relevant, very necessary as well.
Hmm.
Because if you are a female and you didn't grow up in a two-parent household, let alone not even absent parents. If you grew up absent both parents, that's even worse. So Kevin Samuel, like you said, he could be an outlet for some of these women, right? Because they need to hear
Or
some
you
of
could
these.
have, you could have had two parent and still get it. It just really kind of depends
Right,
because it just
right.
depends.
I think it's just worse. You're right.
Yeah.
You're quite right. You could have two parents and still be entitled.
Yeah.
It's just depend on how you were brought up.
Yeah.
So again, I think his message is relevant, though I don't believe in everything he says or I don't buy everything he sells, and that's what it's supposed to be. You can't, just because you like someone or you like what they're saying doesn't mean every word they speak is 100% true, or you
Mhm.
should embrace everything. Even your pastor, you should question your pastor. Even the Bible, you should question the Bible, let alone a Kevin Samuels. But like I said, most of the women that call in tend to be low informed people, education subpar, experience in life shaky. That's what I noticed, and so he preys upon those people. I don't know if it's intentional, but it's very easy for him to bulldozer his way around with these women. But I don't think if it's high quality caliber of women calling in, I don't think he will be able to have his way with these women. Maybe you should call in and talk and have a conversation with him.
I, honestly, I wouldn't get anywhere. I'm fat. To be honest with you, I'm serious today. He has a real beef with fat women.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
so
terrible.
yeah, like the fact that yeah, I could go on a whole other tangent on that.
Hmm.
So it's really sad that basically that you dwindled women down to three components. When we come in so many different shapes, sizes, value, like we're awesome beings. No, just like men are awesome beings. So it's really unfortunate. I have nothing for him. That's just the truth. um, I try to be respectful, but no, I'm above it. I'm above his conversation.
It's funny you mentioned that he has problem with fat women, and what he fails to realize is that's the European standard of beauty is the slim woman. That's European standard of beauty.
Hmm.
That's ingrained in our psyche.
Yeah.
To think the only form of beauty is slim women and light skinned women on TV.
Yeah.
That's why you see all the music videos from the rappers. You have light skinned women, skinny women, and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you go to the hood, um, that's the opposite,
Right.
right? Most of these rappers prefer take a girls,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, they don't put that in the video.
Right. That's
That's
why
the irony. That's the irony in all of that
yeah.
because of the perception that's out there of what a standard of beauty should be. So
Yeah.
perception sometimes is reality for a lot of people, and that's it. And I think that's what's going on with Kevin Samuels too, as far as the standard of beauty is concerned. Do you know that in Mauritania, which is an African country, women actually the skinny women, they don't even get a husband over there.
Wow.
I was watching this documentary. They don't even get the husband.
What's the name of that? What's the name of that country? I need to write that down. What's the name?
Mauritania. Mauritania. So for all the plus size women, you might want to check Mauritania. And there are plenty
That's
of
what we
African.
got, ladies. We living us right.
Yeah, they really like milk the cows and give it to the girls so they can gain weight. Because
Serious?
yeah, I was watching this documentary. This is years ago. I was watching. I was like, wow, I'm from Africa, but I didn't even know that. But so
Wow.
yeah, so they milk the cow. They have to make sure the girls are fluffy because when they're skinny, It's like
Yeah.
you can't get a man. You're not right. So that's
And I get it. It's all about a preference. And even still, if you want to talk about health, let's talk about health. Like, let's have the conversation. But don't dwindle me down to just a scale, or don't dwindle me down to just, you're not worthy because of X, Y, and Z. Like, we want to talk about something, let's have a conversation.
right.
Health is important. If you're talking about, it's all kind of diabetes, high blood pressure, all of these things are very valid questions that talk to a future partner, somebody that you're interested in. I'm not telling you not to have those conversations, but what I'm saying is, don't knock someone and don't tell someone, well, you're definitely not high value or you're definitely not quality because of this particular. That's your point of view. That's what you don't want, and that's what you need to say, versus making it one way, and then you have these fools come right behind you, spewing this foolishness off the women. So,
and that's a very great area. That's very that can lead to the danger zone, because once that is ingrained in the psyche of some of these girls who already struggle with self-esteem issues, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. So and I'm not one of those guys who I know I come across sometimes as, how would I put it? As like this guy who tends to be immune from a lot of shit, or whatever the case might be, or tend to be insensitive sometimes. But I try to be objective as best as I can, I'm thinking, that's something I had to think about that, because I'm thinking, you look at the fingers, all the fingers are not equal. People are built differently.
Yeah.
People have different experiences. Some people grew up in like an environment that is so abusive, it's unimaginable. So people like that, hearing the type of shit from Kevin Samuels just makes them feel like, all right, so I have no hope in life then. I'm doomed.
That's literally how it came off. As a matter of fact, he told one young lady that, I'm sorry, like, you should have made different choices. Sorry. Literally, that's what the man said. And it's like, whoa. Well, I hope he got some counseling, some therapists on the back line to call these ladies back and say something, because if she was on the anyway, I feel like he's, to me, more reckless. And even though there's certain conversations that you can have about, like I said, have those conversations, but don't tell someone that they don't, that you basically, in the dating world, you don't have a place because of X, Y, and Z. Like,
again, I think his delivery, his approach, his delivery is the biggest problem, because on the one hand, I think what he's trying to communicate, as far as the weight and health is concerned, is basically, I think women should be more careful on how, on what they eat, or the lifestyle, and all that stuff, because if you don't pay attention to your health, you're gonna end up this way, and then your sexual marketplace value would dwindle. I think if he explains and break it down that way, it's a lot more easier to consume and digest, right? It doesn't come across as a jerk, or someone who's so apathetic to what people are going through.
I see the point about some of these things, but I feel like I said, for me, I think the frustrating part, especially when it comes to the weight, is that I just want to know. To me, you don't have as much harsh conversation about weight towards men. Okay. You got some fat men walking around with some beautiful women on their arms. It just is what it is. And people don't really say much about them. Like, there is a sector, yes, sometimes they get hit with it too. Somebody being abusive to them with, saying some things they shouldn't say. But for the most part, fat women catch it. They catch hell. They really do sometimes, and it's wrong. And I'm gonna stand up and say no, it's not okay. Again, because you're dealing with a preference situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're talking about health, again, let's talk about health. Let's talk about, well, do you like being fat? Do you have an underlying health issue? Have you or do you?
Right.
It's just so many ways you can go into that conversation about it. And he did mention a part on that. He did, and depending on the person, they might agree with him. He said it's sometimes tied to him is tied to discipline. Hey, sir, you may or you may not have a point. I don't know. But what I can say is another way to handle it. What you said too, it's just another way to handle it. What are you getting at? Are you talking about how am I aesthetically unpleasing to you, or are you really concerned about my health? Which one is it? Because I feel like you're talking on both sides of your neck. On one thing he's saying discipline. The next thing you keep calling me Big Shirley. And there's a time he kept using in the video was Big Shirley, and it's like, yeah, I don't understand. And so.
Yeah, he does a lot of name calling. But again, like I said, I watched that documentary. I watched that interview he did on Vlad, and he had a problem with people doing the name calling. But
for him, like you don't call him a name, he can call you a name.
Yeah, and he does that to women. I think it's a double standard in a way, but he cries about double standard and entitlement and all that stuff. But he's doing the exact same thing. So again, it takes a level of intelligence. It takes a level of maturity for people to be able to listen to some of these so-called pundits or whoever professional, whatever they call themselves, to be able to decipher what's right or what's wrong. It's like, I don't think it's rocket science, but then again, we always like to follow the crowd. That's just human tendency. Okay. It's called keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody want to keep up with the Joneses. Oh, Kevin Samuels. You hear about Kevin Samuels? He's a new hot thing. Oh, is that right? Boom. I'm going to watch him. Now I want to be the next one in line to talk to Kevin Samuels. True. Well, you're the next one in line to talk to Kevin Samuels. Are you prepared for what's coming?
True. I mean, I guess in some to say you could do the quote unquote chew up the meat and spit out the bones, as they say. To me, it's not enough meat. It's not enough meat. So, yeah. I guess my point for wanting to even talk about this was just if I had a message for women is just because I do feel like I love the dialogue where men and women can discuss, because sometimes there is such a wall there, especially because a lot of times we just don't want to admit that, hey, we're just different. And that's just what it is, right? But if we can have more dialogues where we can come together and be able to be understanding to each other and listen, but have a heart for each other, there's nothing wrong with a man really admiring a beautiful woman. Nothing wrong. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for that. Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman, honestly, wanting a man that's financially secure. I think there's nothing wrong with either one of those things either, but you also have to understand what value you both bring to the table. And honestly, these are the conversations that people sometimes don't want to have. They want to beat each other up for these things that I don't think they should.
Yeah, I think open and honest dialogue is key, but also listening. A lot of people don't listen. A lot of people don't listen. A lot of people don't want to listen. So, and I also think it's also very important to point out that we tend to listen to sound bites sometimes and run with it. Okay, that's the age of today's society, though. I think a lot of us are guilty of that. We listen to a sound bite. Kevin Samuels said this, and then without even checking, what context checking is important. Okay, what was the context? He said this or that. It's important. Context clue matters in communication. A lot of people don't think about that. So you got to go back and listen to what he said, what led to that talking point that's out there, and what follows that talking point. And then you can make an informed conclusion, right? But most of the time, we don't tend to do that.
I agree. I think sometimes people don't do it because sometimes people can be quite verbose, and they like to hear themselves talk. And so People sometimes chop it down, but you're right. I do think that you should listen to find out exactly what the person is saying, because they may actually have something to offer. But I will say in this instance, I feel confident that Kevin has nothing to offer, and I'm standing on that.
Oh, really? He has nothing to offer? I didn't know you were that extreme. Oh, man.
Yes,
Nah.
No. I'm telling you, I feel like Kevin could find another way of saying, I am an advocate for men. I feel that there's a place where men have been misused, and I want to reach and I want to have something to say on their behalf. But you can't come with hot air. And to me, he comes with hot air. He comes with very sexist views, in my opinion, and no value as far as like, because for the most, I'm gonna be honest with you. From what he was saying, all I need to do is basically make sure I don't have no kids. I could either drop a lot of weight, and he said, men don't care about how you get it. They just want you to get it. So they don't really care if you went to the gym or you bought the body. It don't matter. Just have it. So you don't even care truthfully about my discipline. You just want me to look the part. So you don't care what type of woman you have in your home. You don't care about that because I look the part. I got to the size I need to be.
I don't think he doesn't care though.
That's what the man said. All I can go off what the man said.
Really?
I go what the man said.
I don't believe Kevin Samuels is that shallow. I don't think he's that shallow.
You have more faith in him than I do. You have more faith in Kevin.
I don't think it's just limited to looks. No.
Unfortunately, yeah, and I'm hoping that. That's why, you know what? That whole video was about looks. Maybe there's more. Maybe he's really deep down. Maybe he does care about the integrity of a woman and who she is and the value that she has. Maybe he really does care, and he's keeping those videos to himself. And he's gonna bring them up.
I think he has problem. I think he has problem communicating effectively to Black women about issues like weight, issues like education, issues like wealth building, issues like being submissive, issues like knowing your role in a relationship. I think that's what the bigger issue is, his method of communication. But I think at its core, again, he is relevant in today's society. His message is relevant in today's society. Some women needs to hear some of the stuff he's saying. And I said some women, but to say all Black women, I think that's a stretch, and that's hasty generalization. That's a big problem right there, because if you look at the caliber of women that calls into his show, you could tell, these women are not intellectually, for the most part, inclined. They are not highly educated, and some of them can't even answer basic questions about what they want in life. So you have these people, low informed audience, pretty much. That's how I'll coin that. So
good point. You make a good point there. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
dialogue with me, because I had my thoughts. So
we didn't talk about high value.
I just wanted to know what's high value. Like,
we can talk about that next time.
Thrown out all the time now, so I'm like, well, what's a high value man? I want to know.
What's a high value man?
What's a high value man?
What did you get from that? The high value man thing?
From his conversation, from what he said, I gathered. I like to say I gathered that it's dealing with his network, his net worth, and his network. His peers, how his peers value is normally a man that's and he did say that he did not create that term. He said the term has been around for years. But he said it's dealing with the man's net worth, how much money he's making, 6 figures over a period of time. I think he mentioned something. He said he did mention something about education status, but mainly from what I got from him, a high value man is dealing with network and net worth. And I would actually have to disagree with my opinion of what it would be. But, based on what I guess the average person in society would say, I'm sure they would probably agree with him.
You agree with his take on high value man?
I do not.
Okay. So what is the problem? What is the problem you have with that?
I would say high value is because, again, and I know he just described Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a high net worth and a high network. He's not a high value man. So nothing about him, he's low level at his best. So if I'm going off of basically what Kevin is giving an example of, that is not a high value man. And you have countless examples of men with money and countless examples of men with a huge network who are for real jerks, trash. So a high value, if you ask me, it's a man who carries himself with integrity. It's a man who actually cares about his community. It's a man who does understand how to build and grow money. It is a part of the system. It goes along with it. But he may not necessarily have the exact amount of money someone else has, but that doesn't mean, one, he's not on his way. Then on top of that, it's also based on how do you look at it. He could be a man who's has wealth of knowledge. So it's a bunch of things that, to me, that can come together and build what's a high value man. So a high value man could be a fifth grade math teacher. Like, because he cares about kids, he wants to see them elevate. So yeah, that question is loaded to me, but I am not a man. But from my perspective, I will say from my perspective, I pay attention, and maybe because I'm older, I don't know. I pay more attention to how a man carries himself and what matters. Who is he when nobody is looking? To me, that is what makes a high value man. And I could be wrong, but that's what matters to me.
Well, yeah, I think that's a very subjective statement. High value man. It's very subjective.
Mhm.
It's not something that you can coin and have all these labels. It cannot be put in the box like Kevin Samuels'S think he's doing. Like, I don't think that's the case. Because one woman's high value man is another woman's piece of trash. I look at it the other way. So yeah. I don't think it's just limited to income and network and all this status and all that stuff. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's deeper than that. And who's to say who's high value and who's not high value? You are what you think. You are what you think you are. You are what you do. That's what makes
it better. Yeah. You have a good point. Who does it say what it is anyway?
Right. Yeah. So you are what you think you are. If you think you are high value and you do what a high value person is supposed to do, then you're high value. Right? A high value person, like you said, should be someone of high character. Your character should be intact. You should be productive, obviously. You should be definitely someone that takes care of your family and your community, like you said. If you call yourself a high value person, are you producing? Do you care about people? Are you a decent human being? Do you have common sense?
Yeah.
Right. So, it's not all about money. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree. It's money is a component. I don't want to be I don't want to act like money's not important. I mean, money does matter.
Call money is important. No finance, no romance.
Money does matter. I mean, I think it's something that sometimes women get beat up over. Just to tell the truth. And I don't think women should get beat up over it. I feel like sometimes women do get beat up over wanting to be with someone who's financially secure. I do. And they do. Sometimes they do, and it's a situation where you do have to consider You know, if you're a man who does have a certain amount of money, I think you should be selective in what type of woman you have, because think about it, this could be the mother of your children. This could be the woman who helps you continue to grow that money. So you should, like, the man who has the money and the woman who wants a man who has money. I just don't see anything wrong with that. But it's that's a very touchy conversation, and it's very subjective. People sometimes get very angry about that conversation. And I don't think women should be villainized for wanting to be with somebody who's financially secure.
I don't think they should be villainized, but I think they should be careful with that, because the problem is when you get into a situation like that, then what leverage do you have? That's the question. Do you have that leverage? If you get with a guy who's already fully established and has everything going, again, the question is, then he has most of the leverage in most
cases.
So, yeah. Who do you think have the leverage? I think what the priority should be is it's about building together. I think, in my opinion, the priority should be working and building together. So that way it's a collective endeavor.
I agree. I mean, that's what I was saying. If you're a man who you make a certain amount of money, or you're just growing, you know how to build, it would make more sense to get with a woman who understands that and has the same type of thinking versus a person who's trying to take advantage, a person who's trying to use you. Like, both men and women have to use wisdom here. And sometimes I think men, you looking at the wrong thing. Sometimes I think men are looking at a woman with a body on her and she has nothing going on up here. Then when she run you through your pockets, you're upset. Sir, that woman was letting you know what she like, through the depth of conversation. Like, women on the same thing. If you want a man who basically you're upset because he's an avid cheater, but he's financially secure, ma'am, you accepted that. Like, you have to call yourself to the mic. You have to be accountable. And I think sometimes we don't want to be accountable. Again, this conversation could run the gamut. You could open up another whole
Yeah, that's a whole separate. That's a whole separate.
It could go a whole different way. Because especially when you get down to the money between men and women, very touchy, a very touchy subject, but it's a very important subject and it matters. So
that'll be we'll save that for next session.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So you feel like you got everything off your chest about Kevin?
I do. I feel that the women and the men know how I feel about Kevin Samuels and his message.
I just gotta say one thing though, not to cut you off, is I don't understand why women get so annoyed and they tend to react so quick when a guy speak highly or positively about Kevin Samuels. I don't understand that. It's okay if a guy says, I listen to Kevin Samuels. I've seen women, that will post on their social media feed or whatever, in the dating world, be like, if you are a Kevin Samuels fan, I don't want to talk to you, or that don't talk. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, really? Is it that serious?
So let's just say, and this might just be, you might feel this way in general, but someone says, I love, and I have mentioned this name several times tonight. I love Donald Trump. Thought he was a great president. I thought he was really, championing for the U.S. Absolutely, what he did for this nation. That wouldn't give you pause on the interaction with the person, because to me, the person is saying not that they're like just total Trump, like, got the flag tattooed on the chest, but they're saying, I believe in his principles. I believe in what he believes. So they're saying, I'm aligned with this person. And to me, you would be more likely to be like, well, if birds of a feather think, flock together, that might give me pause on whether this is a person I should engage with. Like, I know a number of people who really would be, they're kind of weirded out when they see Trump supporters in their yard. Like, they just...
Yeah, but there's a difference, okay?
How?
It's okay to react you know, and whatever give you pause according to what you just said, give you pause, right? That's all okay. But what
Yeah.
is not okay is to just label that person as, you know, a reprobate, like
Mm-hmm.
Hillary Clinton labeled half of the voting population in this country, you know. So that's what the problem is. You know, you can't say if you are Kevin Samuels fan, then don't talk to me. That's different from pause,
I mean,
you know.
yeah. I mean, I think what they're saying, and I don't really know, and when I know women who get turned off when they hear about someone supporting, but a lot of times I've seen men come back and say, "Well, that's why y'all get mad about Kevin." It's almost like the men who for real, and I would say you're the first one who I've come across who doesn't really have I wouldn't say a problem with Kevin Samuels, but you don't come off abrasive about it. You don't come off arrogant about it, smug about it. But that is not normally what I've come in contact with. I've come in contact with someone really beating on their chest. I'm Kevin Samuels supporter, and this is why women need da, 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 da. It's coming from a place of it comes off like a place of anger. And I feel like
But
sometimes with women, you're getting she's preparing herself like bitch, you know, like go ahead on, don't bring that over here. Now she might
but
be
yeah,
funny.
so that's what the problem is because again, and that's why I said from the beginning that you know Kevin Samuels is relevant to today's society because those guys that you are talking about are listening to him. They feel like he has given them voice.
Yeah, and he
That's
has.
where it's coming. That's where it's coming from. That
Yeah,
attitude. It's like finally we got someone to speak for us. Someone to tell these women the truth. Someone to put these women in their place. You know, this is something that's been going on a lot of guys' mind, but they don't have the They didn't have the platform or the outlet. But now Kevin Samuels is that vehicle. You know, so yeah, that's what gave that reaction. And if you want to go back to Trump, I know you mentioned Trump earlier, you know, how calling the name Trump or saying I'm a Trump supporter or I like Trump would get someone startled. Yeah, rightfully so, you know, because two things can be true. Trump can be a jerk and he can also be a successful businessman.
yep.
He can be a jerk and also did some good thing as a president.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things can be true. You
True.
know, I understand, but because he has this bad reputation in the media, this bad reputation of insults and disrespect, you know, or breaking the laws and shit like that. So people have that perception about him, and so that's what we call recency bias, right? So that's recency bias kick in, you know. So it's just like, you're just like this. I can't, you know, you have that wall, that defense
Yep.
mechanism right away when you hear the name Trump. And that's what the problem is. You know, we need to remove that defense mechanism, that wall. You know, once we remove that wall and try to be open to at least listen. Now, let me ask you, you said some of these guys comes across as abrasive, these so-called Kevin Samuels fan and whatever. Do you take the time to ask them, what is it about Kevin Samuels that you like? As opposed to just saying, oh, you're a rabid Kevin Samuels fan, so go over there.
Well,
That's what the
normally
biggest that's what the biggest problem is. We
I
don't take
agree.
the time to
Normally
ask.
they go ahead and let you know why they are. And normally it does come off like they mad at women. Normally that's the outcome of why they're saying, and they might have been, I don't know, triggered. I don't know, but I agree. I'm gonna give you that. I'm agree. I agree that the defense mechanism, maybe it's okay to ask the person, so exactly help me understand how. Um and okay, let me go there.
How what?
How let me hold on, let me finish my sentence. Clear my thought. Take the defense mechanism down. Take the time to listen to the person, even if they have a different point of view from me or
Mm.
whomever they're listening to, and just be, you know, because maybe there was something else, some type of value that they found in the conversation, from him, and maybe that would be an open dialogue for a woman and a man to have about Kevin Samuels.
Right.
Hey, we doing it right now.
Yeah.
So you're right. The conversations can be had, and we may not agree even at the end of it, but we can at least get to the point of having a conversation. Because I do feel like the reason why Kevin has a platform is because of the terrible miscommunication between men and women. That is to me, one of the main reasons why he's found an avenue, and he's been able to make it work. So you make a very good point there.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It boils down to listening, having the ability to listen to someone in as much as you fundamentally disagree with their position or where they're coming from. And I think that's the biggest problem with America today. You see, even in politics, Republicans on one side, Democrat on one side. You mentioned Hillary, Obama. It's like, you mentioned Trump. It's like, huh. So, there is no compromise.
Yeah.
Why? Because no one is listening.
I agree.
We already have a preconceived notion of the other side without even listening. I have a friend who is actually in politics, and she was telling me a story about her neighbor when she just bought a house. This guy, he's like a redneck. He got the flag, the Union. What's the flag? The flag of the Civil War. What is it called? Yeah, the Confederate flag. Yeah, he had the Confederate flag, and he had Trump signs in his yard. And so she already just made up her mind. This guy, he's on the far end of things. She already formulated an opinion about this guy without even having a conversation with him. She formulated that opinion in her mind. Yeah, he's on the far end of the spectrum. I can't mess with this guy. He's a redneck. He's this. He's that. Now, guess what? This guy, who's a white old guy, Trump supporter with a Confederate flag, happens to be the one that mowed her lawn for her. Okay, he mowed her lawn, and she eventually got to thank him, and they had a conversation, and it turns out to be a very pleasant and decent human being. Okay. I see you doing this. So in other words, you are telling me that a Trump supporter with a Confederate flag is not capable of being a decent human being. That's what that shrug is about. Like when you did that. That's what it is, isn't it?
I feel that every now and then.
No, yeah, I got you right there, red-handed, isn't it?
I feel that you can be pleasantly
Answer the question. You can't get around this. You're not gonna skip this. Is it yes or no?
What's the
Wasn't
question?
it? The question was when I mentioned this guy actually helped. Even though he got the Confederate flag, he got Trump sign in his yard, right? And he ended up being a decent human being. You went like this. Right? And I'm saying to you my question to you is that shrug that you just did just now.
Yeah.
Isn't that shrug coming from a place of no, he couldn't possibly be a decent human being? Yes or no?
That's where it came from. It was coming from a place of I'm surprised that he was one, but he was one. That's what it was coming from. Okay. You got me thinking okay.
So what does that say about
that don't judge a book fully by its cover? That is what it's saying.
Not just a book. Don't judge anyone just based on preconceived notion. Period.
Okay. We go.
Yeah, that's a struggle. And listen, we are guilty of it, but at its core, that's the biggest problem in America today.
So what I'm gonna do is the next time a gentleman is talking to me about Kevin Samuels, I'm going to open my ears and I'm going to say, hey, brother, let's talk. What about Kevin Samuels intrigues you? What about him is this message that you feel bold enough to come and talk to me about it? I would love to hear your point of view. I would love to hear what you have to say. That I can give you that. That's what I can take away from this conversation about your friend and her neighbor. I'm a listen. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna open the dialogue like we're having right now. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's where it starts. It starts from listening. Not be too quick. Don't be too quick to judge people. Don't be too quick to label people just because they have a different opinion from yours, or they believe or listen to someone who's extreme or whatever the case might be. There's always a reason why people gravitate to these individuals. Even with the same thing with Trump, there's a reason why a lot of people voted for Trump. Some of them didn't really care or were not paying attention to all the nastiness that he displayed during the campaign. But for them, oh, this guy's speaking my language. He's the first person that's talking about, closing the border. He's the first person that's talking about the Europeans not paying their fair share. So they listen to those messages and they're like, okay, I'm gonna vote for this guy. I understand this guy. So different reasons why people voted for Trump. Different. I'm not saying they are right. It's not my place to say they're right. But my point is to first of all understand why they voted for Trump before castigating these people. And that's what we need to understand. That's the lesson.
Okay. That's all I got for you. Okay. I'm gonna do my part. And I'm gonna try to, like I said, when it comes to conversations where I am on the total opposite spectrum of it, I'm gonna try to open up and listen to the perspective of the opposite, because I in my mind says that you are in line with this person because you think like this person, and maybe that's not right. I feel strong that I am right. Just to tell you the truth, but I will be willing to listen, and maybe they got something. Maybe they got food for thought to help me out and help me understand their process. And
you don't really learn or grow if you constantly mingle with people that you think the same way. You guys think alike. What are you learning from? You're not learning anything new from people that you hang around. You guys all have the same mindset, the same mentality. Are they can't challenge you? No. They won't. You won't get any new information because you already know. Oh yeah, we all Democrat. We all down with the program. But if you listen to someone else's perspective, now it opens up your mind, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about it this way. Oh, I didn't think of. Now you have a different perspective. So that's what we. Yeah, that's just what it is. And that's why. Go ahead.
I see some room for growth. And I think I can do. I think I can step up to the plate and listen.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm sitting over here like a preacher. That's something I had to learn because being in sales, you have to listen. And so I think that's where it came from. Just being in sales, you have to listen to the customer. You have to listen to the customer because if you don't listen to the customer, you're gonna end up losing the sales. When I first got in sales. The customer will be talking about the problem. Oh, I did this before and I had a bad experience. All we salespeople just want to do is get the sales. We're not listening to what the customer is saying. Customer's like, I did this before and I had bad experience. And you're like, oh, no, it's different. Just do it. Am I listening? No, I'm not listening. My goal is just to get her to do it, right? But a good listener will be, oh, you said you did this before. What was the issue? What happened? You see right there? I start by asking the individual question. Now, I will cover all the information from that individual. Now I know how to handle the problem. That's it.
Okay. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try your way.
No, it's not my way. No, it's not my way.
I'm gonna try your way. We're gonna see about these open-minded, positive brothers that's listening to Kevin Samuels. Yeah. They out there.
There are positive people that listen to Kevin Samuels. Yeah. I would have been listening to him if he wasn't so vulgar and and condescending. I'll tell you that. I would have been listening to him on a regular, but I just, I just can't. It turns me off.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just for me. It's not necessary. You can make your point without being so rude and disrespectful. It's just not necessary. So for me, that's a big turn off. So that's why I don't watch him. All right.
Yeah, you've given me some things to think about.
And I learned some stuff too from you. Shit. All right. So we're gonna wrap this up, though.
Yes.
All right. We wrap it up, and we will continue next session.
We'll come back with another topic next time.
Yeah, that'll be about no finance, no romance.
Yes, that's a great conversation right there. We can definitely talk about that one.
Yeah. No money, no honey.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we can definitely dive heavy into that one.
All right. Well, yeah. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe and like the channel and share this.
Comment.
Comment. All right. Till next week, guys. Au revoir. Bye.